Hi, and welcome to the Everyday Entrepreneur, where we explore all the ups and downs and the turnarounds on this entrepreneurial journey. My name is Kathy Jackson, and I will be your tour guide. Now, our journey today is going to take us to the San Francisco Bay, LA. That's right, we're going to Hollywood. And we're going to end on Broadway. And since we are going to end our time together on Broadway, I felt it was appropriate to dress accordingly. So I hope you will take this journey with me as we share three case studies of some very iconic people who decided to move forward in their dreams. Now, the first thing I want to share with you guys is that as we do these three case studies, you're going to recognize these names. You're going to know these songs. We're going to use some songs, but this is not necessarily the true story of their journeys, but we are going to use their songs and imagine that that art is imitating life, because in actuality it does. I'll show you what I mean. I am going to share my screen, and the thing about this virtual world, it doesn't matter how dressed up we get. If you need glasses, you need glasses. So we are going to study three different songs that I know you're all familiar with. First, we're going to look at Otis Redding and the Dock of the Bay. Then we're going to move on to LA and follow Gladys Knight as she takes that midnight train to Georgia. And then we're going to end on Broadway with none other than Mr. George Benson. Now, again, I want you guys to use your imagination to see these songs in the as reality for the course that these superstars charted. In reality, these songs were written by other people. Some of them were performed by other people even before the stars that we know have them. So it's not really their story, they're artists, but I think that the songs speak to who we are as entrepreneurs. So let's get started. First, we are going to take a look at The Dock of the Bay, written by Mr. Otis Ready. Now, I am not a singer, and so mostly I'm going to recite the words to the lyrics, and then we're going to use them in our case study. However, I am a fan of all of these songs, and it's really, really hard for me to say them and not sing them. So I apologize in advance if I break out in song, okay? Now, the first song we're going to look at is Mr. Otis Ready. Here's what the song says. He says he's sitting in the morning sun, and he'll be sitting when the evening comes, watching the ships roll in, and then he'll watch them roll away again. He says he left his home in Georgia, headed for the Frisco Bay, headed because he had nothing to live for, and it didn't look like anything was going to come his way. So he's just sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tides roll away, sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time. I'm sorry, it just that hits me hard. Don't waste time. And it says, looks like nothing's going to change. Everything is going to remain the same. I can't do what 10 people tell me to do, so I guess I'll just remain the same. Sitting here rest in my bones, and the loneliness won't leave me alone. 2,000 miles I roam just to make this dock my home. I'm just sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tides rolling away. Sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time. Guys, I don't even think I have to point out the problems in this situation. But I will, for the sake of those who might not be familiar with the song. Here we have Mr. Otis Ready. He was living in Georgia and he was restless. He felt like nothing was happening and nothing was going to come his way. So he moved from Georgia to the San Francisco Bay. It's actually Sausalito, California, the bay that he's talking about in this song. I had the privilege of going there, and it's just outside of San Francisco. But he sat on this bay watching the tides rolling away. He started in the morning, and he was there when the sun went down. That is truly wasting time. Now, here he is leaving his hometown in order to make his dreams come true, but he finds himself wasting the day, procrastinating. He doesn't know what to do because he's overwhelmed, obviously, by what it really takes to become a success. He's got people on his team that are trying to help him and give him some direction, but for him, all of that is overwhelming. How do I know? Because he says it in the songs. He says, what is it? He says, looks like nothing's going to change. Everything remains the same. I can't do what 10 people tell me to do, so I guess I'll remain the same. So he couldn't make a decision. He couldn't prioritize what needed to be done. He couldn't put together a plan for his life. And he was so overwhelmed with all that it was going to take that he just checked out. He just sat on the dock of the bay and watched the tides. Now, for those of you who may not know, if you're familiar with the song, you know at the end it has this little whistling part. It's because when Otis Redding, and he had a co-writer, but he never finished writing this song. He put the whistling part in himself because he had every intention on coming back and finishing the song, but unfortunately, Otis Redding died in a plane crash at the age of 27. And he hadn't finished writing this song, so he had the whistling as a placeholder. And they ended up releasing this song being one of his biggest hits after his death. And I don't know that this was truly how he felt. You know, he was pretty successful. He actually had a nice house on the dock of that bay. So I don't know what his life was really like, but I imagine in this song, you know, he says in this song that he really has nothing to live for. Nothing's going to come his way. And I believe that there is the power of life and death is in your tongue. And writing this out, singing this out, and there's nothing to live for, nothing's going to come your way. I don't know if, you know, did you speak that out into the world and did the universe respond? I don't know. Again, this is a song, art imitates life, and the tragedy that happened to him, I don't believe in necessarily that he called it upon himself because he wrote this song. But I'm just saying, in terms of entrepreneurship, you cannot spend all day procrastinating and expect to reach your dreams. So that's case study number one. Case study number two, this one is fun. Miss Gladys Knight and her guy who decided that LA was too much for the man. So he's leaving, he's going on the midnight train to Georgia. He's going back to find what's left of the world that he left behind not so long ago. I'm reading the lyrics. He's leaving on the midnight train to Georgia. Leaving on the midnight train. I'm sorry, I just had to throw that in. Yeah, he's going back to find a simpler place and time. Oh, yes, he is. And I'm going to be right by his side. And then Gladys says, I'll be with him. I know you will. On that midnight train to Georgia. I'd rather live in his world than live without him in mine. And then it says that he kept dreaming that someday he'd be a star, superstar, but he didn't get far. But he sure found out the hard way that dreams don't always come true. So he's leaving on the midnight train to Georgia. He pawned all his hopes and his dreams and even sold his old car. These are lyrics in the song. But now let's break this down. Here we got another young man from Georgia who had dreams of becoming a superstar. You know, so he moved from Georgia to LA and to go after his dreams. Seems like he had some semblance of success. Uh, he had some roles, maybe he had some songs he got a chance to sing, but it clearly wasn't moving along fast enough for him, you know, because it says that he was going back to the world he left behind not so long ago, which means he wasn't out there 10, 15 years and decided that this was not the world for him. He took a stab at it, things got a little rough, and he hightailed it out of town, kind of like tucked tail and ran. And I just say that because why did you have to take the midnight train? You couldn't wait till 7 in the morning. You know, that's how I think, guys. But then what's interesting is that Gladys, who was also in LA going after her dreams, decided that she was so in love that she would not let him go back to Georgia without her. So she abandoned her dreams, which it sounds like she had some modicum of success, like her star was starting to rise, but rather than continue on that path, she'd rather live in his world than continue in her world without him. Now let's talk about that. And I'm not going to go too deep because I'm not a relationship expert, but can you imagine what that relationship looked like 6 months down the road after they got back to Georgia? And I'm just going to say he was a dishwasher. I don't know what he did, but that's how my imagination works. He was a dishwasher, and they're not living in the lap of luxury. And she has given up her dreams of stardom. She has given up her success to move into this little shack with the dishwasher. Wonder how long love lasted. Because here you got two people whose dreams have fallen by the wayside. And how can they uplift each other? I just don't understand it. I don't get it. But the real thing that I want to share about that is you see how the environment, the people who you're around can bring you down. Not only did his decision put him in a position to lose out on his dreams, but it was contagious and it pulled her down from her dreams. So negativity breeds negativity. So, you know, as an entrepreneur, you have to make sure you're surrounding yourself with the right kind of people because positivity breeds positivity, success breeds success, failure breeds failure. So you want to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with the right type of people in the right type of environment so that you set yourself up for success. Now let's move on to our third case study. We're going to talk about Mr. George Benson and his dreams of uh, becoming a famous star on Broadway. So we'll go with the song. They say the neon lights are bright on Broadway. They say there's always magic in the air. But when you're walking down the street, I can't help but sing it, y'all, and you ain't had enough to eat, the glitter rubs right off and you're nowhere. Mm. They say the women treat you right on Broadway, but looking at them just gives me the blues. Because how you gonna make some time when all you've got is one thin dime, and one thin dime won't even shine your shoes? Talk that talk, Mr. Benson. They say I won't last too long on Broadway. I'll catch the Greyhound bus for home, they all say. Now there's some more to this song, but I'm gonna save it. We're gonna break this part down and then we're gonna go to the rest of the song. Here. George Benson left his home in Philadelphia. I looked it up. That's where he's originally from. And again, we're putting his real life in this song. That's not necessarily true, but this is what we're going to do for our case study. So Mr. George Benson wanted to be a star on Broadway. He was fascinated by the bright lights, by the pretty women, by all of the glitter that Broadway had to offer. And so Mr. George Benson got on a bus and rode to New York City so that he can work on his dream of becoming a star. Now, he quickly found out that all of the magic and the bright lights, it didn't mean anything when you were struggling. See, he says, when you're walking down the street and you ain't had enough to eat, that's a struggle. That the glitter rubs right off and you're nowhere. Now, he was also looking forward to being able to meet women and, have a good time, live that star life. But he says, because he says they say the women treat you right on Broadway. So he went there looking for that. And when he got there and found out that money was a little tight, he says, but just looking at them gives me the blues. Because he couldn't afford to date. He says, how you gonna make some time when all you got is one thin dime? And for those youngins who might be listening to me, making time means going out on a date. And back in the day, men used to pay. So he's saying, how is he gonna be able to date and he don't have not one thin dime? And he couldn't afford to get his shoes shined. And back in the day, you was not sharp if your shoes weren't shined. That's a little bit before my day, but I remember my grandfather, he was big on shining them shoes. But he said he didn't even have enough to get his shoes shined. So he was struggling. This was not the glitz and glamour that he signed up for. And then on top of that, he had to deal with the negativity of his family and friends. See, George says, they say I won't last too long on Broadway. They say I'll catch the Greyhound bus for home. They all say. Now, who is that? Who is he talking about? He is talking about his family and friends back in Philadelphia. Some who are sharing with him that this is a pipe dream and they don't want him to go, because guess what? They want to protect him from the hurt and heartache of not being successful. Kind of like what happened on the dock of the bay with Otis Redding, or with Gladys's guy running and tucking tail on the midnight train to Georgia. This is what they're saying. We've seen that story before, George. People go out of here and they try to make it all the time and they end up coming back home. And so they want to spare him the agony of defeat. Some of them. There's others who just don't want him to make it. Why? Because if George leaves Philadelphia and becomes this big Broadway star, he lives his dream, guess what that does? It shines a spotlight on those who didn't. Those who accepted the status quo, who let other people determine how they were going to live their life, following the road of the masses and doing nothing special, staying inside the comfort zone. And as long as everybody was doing it, it was fine. You could say, hey, this is just the way life is. These are the cards we're dealt. There's no way out. It can't be done. But if George goes on Broadway and makes it big, guess what? They now have to take a look at themselves and say, it's not that it can't be done. I just chose not to do it. And that's the reality they want to avoid. So they tell him, you're going to be back home on the first thing smoking. You'll catch the Greyhound bus from home. And it wasn't some of them. He said, that's what they all say. But we're going to go to my favorite part of the song now. This is what George has to say to all of that. But they're dead wrong. I know, I really want to sing this, y'all, but they're dead wrong. I know they are. Because I can play this here guitar. It don't say here right there, but I know the song. But because I can play this here guitar and I won't quit till I'm a star on Broadway. I won't quit till I'm a star on Broadway. And he goes and he plays that guitar. No, 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 no. I won't quit till I'm a star on Broadway. See, this is why we ended this conversation on Broadway, because George understood something that the other two case studies didn't know. See, George understood that reaching your dreams, fulfilling your dreams is not easy, is a struggle. Overnight success does not exist. When you see somebody that pops up and all of a sudden it looks like they have overnight success, what you don't see is all of the struggles. You don't see how they walk down the street with barely enough to eat, how they had to ration their food, how they had to forego dating, had to sacrifice the things that they loved and wanted to do. I'm sure if he didn't have enough to eat, he wasn't living in a lap of luxury either, right? He couldn't even afford to get his shoes shined. So we know he wasn't living in the lap of luxury. And he could have given up like Otis Ready in the Dock of the Bay or Gladys Knight's guy on Midnight Train to Georgia. But instead, he held fast and he decided that he was going to make it no matter what. It didn't matter that he didn't have his family and friends in his corner. You know what he did? He left them and went around people who were like-minded. There were other struggling artists on the streets of Broadway as well. And by going with them, they help each other out. You put yourself in an environment for success. You block out the negative people. He knew that it would take time, it would take sacrifice, and he put together a plan. He put together a plan so that he could be successful. How do I know? Because he knew he had to sacrifice. So he put away the thoughts of dating women at that particular time. He planned how much food he can eat at a given day and time. He planned where he lived so that he could save and sacrifice. And in the meantime, I know he was out hustling to make right now money so that he could live day to day until he got his big break. And he got his big break by constantly practicing, by constantly taking action. And by believing in his gift and believing in his ability to make an impact. And so he blocked out all the negativity and he talked to himself. Sometimes the negativity comes from inside. You know, he had family and friends telling him that he wasn't going to make it, but usually it's the inner spirit that really gives up, because it doesn't matter what they say. They cannot make you quit. Only you can decide to quit. So he said, they're wrong. I know they are. I can play this here guitar and I won't quit. Determination till I'm a star. And he said that several times, I won't quit, I won't quit, I won't quit. And that's what you have to keep telling yourself if you're going to step out and do something different. If you're going to go after your dreams, you're going to have a determined spirit. You have to have three things to be successful in your dreams in general and as an entrepreneur specifically. You have got to have an idea, a product or a service that you can sell that's going to solve a problem for someone. You have got to have a plan of how you're going to bring that product service to market and how you're going to build your lifestyle around getting that idea out. And then you have to have faith in your abilities, and you have so four things, and a determined spirit so that you never quit. Now, given those three case studies, which one of these is your favorite song? I don't know about you, but I'm all dressed up for Broadway. Now, what is it that we can learn as entrepreneurs from these case studies, from these iconic songs, and from these fabulous artists? Uh, I wanted to say some more, but I'll skip that. What can we learn as entrepreneurs? Lessons from these artists, and this is in no particular order. Number one, dreams require action. You have to make a move. That's the one thing that they all had in common. Each one of them had to relocate from their current place of residence to a new place. Now, as an entrepreneur, I'm not saying that you have to go to California or New York, but what I am saying is that you are going to have to make a move from your current state of being, whether it is you maybe you have to start reading new books, maybe you have to start watching more videos. You're going to have to take some action in order to start living the dream and the life that you want. You have to develop a good work ethic, as we can see in Dock of the Bay, sitting around watching the tides roll in and out. That is not going to help you accomplish your dreams. And we might do a lot of, we might not sit on the dock, but maybe we're watching too much TV. Maybe we're spending too much time hanging out with our friends, having a good time and not working on our dreams. Maybe we're spending too much time in social media, you know, so you might not just be wasting time on the docks, but I guarantee you there's some areas in your life where you probably are wasting some time, procrastinate. Number three, you have to give yourself time. We mentioned it earlier, there's no such thing as an overnight success. It doesn't last long. That lottery success never lasts long. So don't bank on that. Anybody that tells you you're going to get rich quick, it's a scheme. Run, run. It's going to take a lot of hard work and consistency. It doesn't necessarily have to be super hard, but you're going to have to work for what you want. If it was easy, everybody would do it. Number four, you have to get away from negative influences. And that's another thing they all had in common. They all did leave their hometowns, because I guarantee you there are people back in their hometown, they don't have the same dreams that they had. Now, the only one that mentioned it was on Broadway, but in reality, we all have to deal with negative influences in our lives. And the best way to do them is to deal with them is to distance yourself, because People don't always want you to succeed for any number of reasons. Don't take it personal. And the other thing you have to do is be coachable. See, we saw in Dock of the Bay, Otis Redding said he had 10 people trying to tell him what to do, but he was so overwhelmed that he just decided to do nothing. Don't do that. Don't do that. That would guarantee you that you won't succeed. Um, you just have to listen and identify what makes sense. And then the 10 things they were telling him to do, he probably needed to do all 10. I'm sure it was his manager, his publicist, some coaches. They're trying to tell him and help him, but he just felt overwhelmed and he shut down. But you have people you need someone to help guide you, someone who's outside of the picture frame looking in. See, you can't see what they see when you're in the picture. So someone who's outside of the frame who can share with you um, some insights that you need in order to move forward. And if too much is coming to you, you just write it all down and prioritize it. What can I do now? What do I need to do now? What do I want to do, but now is not the time? When can, and put a time frame when you'll get to it. And then some things just aren't for you. So, there are ways to deal with that when you have everything coming to you at once. But shutting down and going and sitting on the dock of the bay, that's not one of them. Next, you have to be determined to win. You have to be resourceful. You have to be resilient in order to make your dreams come true. If you're an entrepreneur, you have got to be resourceful. And you've got to be determined that you're going to win. So when things come up, and they will, the whole premise of a business is about solving problems. You're a problem solver. And so when the problems come up, you have to be able to figure out a solution. If you're not able to figure out a solution, you will not do well as an entrepreneur. And I caution you about leaving your job and opening your own business. Number 8, you have to surround yourself with people that understand your journey. One of the things why people don't step out into entrepreneurship or whatever your dream is because the people who you've surrounded yourself with, these are like-minded people. And now you have changed your mind and you're going to do something different. And you're probably concerned that they won't understand and they won't be on board. And they probably won't. But what happens if you decide you want to get healthy, or you want to save money, or you want to start your own business, you want to get more spiritual, when you step out to do that, you will step into a new world of people who are like-minded and are doing the same thing. So it doesn't mean that you throw your friends away, but you start spending more time with people who have healthier habits, who are going along the journey the same way you are. Some people who are further along so they can lead you. Others who are at right where you are so you can have someone to talk with. And eventually somebody behind you so you can pull them along. But you've got to surround yourself with like-minded people. You have to be willing to do something different. Your success is not in your current comfort zone. If it were, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Everything that you have done now has brought you to where you are. And in order to go further, you're going to have to do something different. And if your dreams don't scare you, you are not dreaming big enough. And if that's the case, you and I need to have a conversation. And finally, number 10, you have to have faith. You have to have faith in your knowledge, skills, and your ability. No matter what anyone else says, when you know that you have a gift, when you know that you can make an impact, when you know that you know that you know that you should be doing something bigger than where you are right now, that you could be living a bigger life, you could be healthier, you could be wealthier, you could be wiser, you could be more spiritual. If you have that in your gut that just says, you should be doing more, listen to it. listen to it and believe it. You can and you should. You got to step outside your comfort zone. You got to have faith. You got to be determined to win. And you got to surround yourself with the right people in order to live the life that you've always envisioned. Now, for those of you who have listened to all of this and you don't have a clue who I am, my name is Kathy Jackson, and I am a business coach, trainer, author, and owner of Deja Hue Art. Deja Hue Art is a paint and sip studio based in Chicago, but we service the world. And at Deja Hue, if we can paint it, so can you. I started Deja Hue in 2015, and it has grown from just a brick and mortar location to a virtual paint party, and we are now launching our Deja Hue Painting Beyond Borders, where you can download our paint classes and paint in the privacy of your own home at your own convenience with an instructor-led video of the paintings that we have here in our studio in Chicago, which is why we are located in Chicago, but we can service the world. That's going to be launched in about 7 days. I'm so excited. But you guys got a preview. So join me next Wednesday on The Everyday Entrepreneur, and we'll have the website so that you can get started painting at your own pace. In terms of coaching, I am the creator of the BYOB 12-step program. And that's not bring your own bottle, that's build your own business. In this program, we help corporate entrepreneurs confidently transition from confidently transition into business ownership without the fear of falling into bankruptcy, so that they can live a life that's more fun, they can have more freedom, and they can be more financially secure. I very specifically work with corporate entrepreneurs. That's people who work a 9 to 5 and they have a business on the side. They spend more time working on a job that they hate, and they don't have enough time and energy left over to build the business that they love. I understand this entrepreneur because that is who I was. I spent over 20 plus years as a corporate HR professional, and then I started Deja Hue Art with no artistic ability whatsoever. We have been in business for more than 6 years. We have surpassed the 5-year threshold uh, where most entrepreneurs close their doors. Over the last 4 years, I have served as a mentor and a coach to many people who have launched and grown their businesses. And I love, love, love helping entrepreneurs to do just that. So if you have a business or a business idea and you would like to connect with me for 45 minutes, we can do what I call a dreamscape call. See, my gift is that I see business in everything. And so when people tell me, like, well, I was thinking about doing this or I wanted to do that, like, my imagination just turns on. And so I want to spend 45 minutes helping you to dream bigger. You know, most of the time, the business that people have, yeah, it's good. And that's what I connect to that. And then I help them dream bigger. So if that's something you like to do, please feel free to connect with me. I have my calendar here. We can schedule a 45-minute call. We'll have the link in the you know, below in the description. Feel free to reach out to me. This is what I love to do. I want to thank you guys for joining us today on the Everyday Entrepreneur, and I hope that you enjoyed our journey to San Francisco, to Hollywood, and finally to the streets of Broadway. I know I enjoy it. This is one of my most favorite conversations to have. And I will see you guys next week on The Everyday Entrepreneur.